Hello, all you ghosts and goblins out there. I am Andrew,
I'm Ashton.
And I'm Sean.
and we are the Night Scholars, exploring the mystifying world of cryptids, ghosts, ghouls, and all things supernatural. Today, we will be talking about everyone's favorite British ghost dog, Black
Ruff.
Shuck. I'm leaving the roof in
Definitely
the.
see.
I think I'm just gonna leave that leave that in the episode.
Yeah, that was funny.
So how you guys doing today?
It's Monday.
The word of the word of the day is ah. That's how I'm doing today.
This
I
just in, I
agree.
will be retiring and due to bleeding from my ears.
Wasn't too bad. It peaked for me. It cut it off before she actually got loud.
This is the second time that I've yelled at Sean today.
This is
Uh,
correct.
I mean, only twice in one day, Sean. That's really not too bad.
I must be doing something right because normally cause she's been yelling at me for the last, 13 years?
Yeah, I know you guys known each other that
Cool.
long. That's about how long my buddy Alex and I've been friends. 12. Well, I think 12 years.
Okay, who's counting, honestly?
Something like that. I don't know. It's
I don't know.
it's been long.
I can't count to 13. So
I know. You're from West Virginia. Nobody can count there.
I was making a joke about the Rougarou.
That too. Anyways. So,
So today, we are talking about the black shuck. To your knowledge, Andrew, can they count past 13
I mean, they seem
or
pretty
past 12?
smart. So probably.
and yet it only killed a dozen people that first night and not 13.
Maybe there was only 12
Eh,
people there.
Yeah, and it was in an abbey, so the amount of people does reduce significantly about that. I do have a little passage from that attack. I might have a little, no, actually, I think this one is fine. So,
Go ahead.
what the passage says about this one is that many men both saw and heard a great number of huntsmen hunting. The huntsmen were black, huge, and hideous, and rode on black horses, and on black he goats, and their hounds were jet black, with eyes like saucers and horrible. This was seen in the very deer park of the town of Peterborough, and in all the woods that stretched from that same town to Stamford. And the night the monks heard them sounding and winding their horns. Which I think is interesting that this also mentions the huntsman here. But before we go into the huntsman, Andrew, do you want to give a brief description of what we were talking about today?
Ooh, a description of the black shuck.
Yee.
I have a description here from the 1901 book Highways and Byways of East Anglia by W.A. Dutt.
And Joseph Pennell?
Yes, he takes the form of a huge black dog and prowls along dark lanes and lonesome field footpaths, where although his howling makes the hearer's blood run cold, his footfalls make no sound. You may know him at once, should you see him, by his fiery eye. He has but one, and that, like a cyclops, is in the middle of his head. But such an encounter might bring you the worst of luck. It is even said that to meet him is to be warned that your death will occur before the end of the year. So you will do well to shut your eyes if you hear him howling. Shut them even if you are uncertain whether it is the dog fiend or the voice of the wind you hear. Should you never set eyes on our Norfolk snarl, you may perhaps doubt his existence, and, like other learned folks, tell us that his history is nothing but the old Scandinavian myth of the Black Hound of Odin, brought to us by the Vikings who long ago settled down on the Norfolk coast.
fun.
That's
So,
a good.
what you're telling me is that he is also the stories of the Grimm?
I mean, from the sound of it, according to this guy, that's what it is.
I mean, if you, I have this one that it sounds even more like the Grin. By Martin Newell. Did you find this one?
I don't think so, you can go ahead.
And Shuck, the hound of Odin, the black dog of the Finns, who pads across the shadows of the years, will spring out on the traveler with burning ember eyes to haunt the ancient roads where he appears. As big as a calf with eyes like burning coals, he pads silently beside the traveler on lonely country roads. Always keeping pace, he never drafts back, but simply seems to melt away. In some parts of the region, they believe that if you see old Shuck, then you or someone in your family will die.
I mean, it kind of sounds like the same dog to me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the grim, as Ashton so eloquently put it.
Well, I'm really just quoting, Ron Weasley where he's just like, it's the Grimm."
Okay, let's be real here. Ron would think any large black dog would be the grim.
Yeah, but I mean, look, he shows up, Sirius Black shows out of nowhere, you can't reveal his face, and he's just like, "Hey, it's nighttime, and you're already freaked out, and I just wanted to get a glimpse out of you because I just broke out of prison, and I'm disguised as this black dog," which is known all across, like, the UK for being, like, this, like, creepy figure that haunts people and brings horrible bad luck. Not going to explain myself at all because I can't, and I'm just gonna continue to be selfish and show myself around you because I'm literally going insane because of the Dementors of Azkaban and what they did to me, and I forgot how social skills work because any 13-year-old kid would be absolutely terrified of me, and then he sees it in the teacup later, and, like, basically Trelawney is just like, "I'm going to" or he's like, "Yep, you're going to die, you're going to face death," and he's just like, "WTF," and then later he's just like, "By the way, I'm your godfather," and that's it, that's all I'm gonna do for Harry Potter. I didn't think I was gonna rant for that long, but it's
Yeah,
fine.
It's fine. It's
no, it's fine.
fine.
You know, he also reminds me of.
Mm,
You
What?
ever heard of the black dog that truckers see?
no.
So, it normally happens when they've been driving for too long, right? Like when they're well
Yeah,
past their hours and they're just still going, trying to get to their next load or next drop off.
yeah, and you really start to see stuff at that
And you
point.
do. And normally, if you see it 3 times, you die. On the third time that you see it, you wreck your truck and you don't make it. The first 2 times is as a warning. Hey, you need to stop, pull over somewhere, and sleep.
That makes sense. I honestly feel very bad for truck drivers and how much they are forced to keep going even after they see the black dog.
No, I
Eh,
agree. I mean, technically, there are rules in place where they're only supposed to be on the road so often, but
Technically, but
it's also very common for those rules to be ignored in favor of money.
yes.
it's hard. It's getting harder and harder to ignore those rules, but you can still do it.
I mean, yeah, you just don't get caught. Take the instead of taking I 65, you're gonna get on off on on Highway 40 and go that way. With a
Like,
ran-
Yeah,
I'm very familiar with how interstates work, but it's very weird that I-65 is, like, a major interstate where I am, and that's also one of your major interstates.
Ours is actually I-64. I-65 is a much bigger one that runs through most of the country, though.
Yeah, I just
I mean,
anyways.
I've got my my highway goes from Florida to California, so
Oh, it does.
yeah, I may drive that
I
someday.
can.
Probably see it. Hopefully, see a black dog or two.
You know, I had an opportunity to go and see them where my parents live in Northeast Texas. There's, like, this area where allegedly, a lot of kids were killed on a bus. And if you go to this area, then at, like, dusk, then you're going to get, like, all these handprints on your windows, and if you, like, flash your lights at any point, like, it will, like, reflect, like, all of these, like I think it's just a singular, like, hellhound,
Uh,
and
Yeah.
I very much chickened out. I did not want to see that, even though
you
part of me also thinks I would just see it and be like, "Ooh, cute puppy."
you
No, yeah.
absolutely would have been like, "Hey, Sean, want to go see a hellhound?" And I'd be like, "Oh yeah."
Can I pet that dog?
Let's be
Although
honest, you
one
would have
of
fed me.
I might have, because one of the descriptions of the black shuck, which I don't know, I might be very much misrepresenting it by calling it both a grim and a hellhound, even though, like, they're similar. But anyways, one of the characteristics is that it foams at the mouth as if it's deranged, rabid, or ravenously focused on their next meal. So I would definitely sacrifice you, Sean, so that way I could not be its next meal.
Would you pet it while it was eating, Sean?
I might.
Yeah. I
Let's be
mean,
honest, you would sacrifice me to a lot of these creatures.
like that musician, Anthony Oliver, says, any old dog is a friend of mine, you know?
Yeah, and as Taylor Swift said, about your body as it's being eaten, is that I hope it's shitty in the black dog.
Hmm.
I'm
Nice.
sorry. That was very bad, but I had to throw a reference to the black dog.
And yet you're not going to do a shameless plug of your Taylor Swift horror.
I do that, but this is a very different podcast, so I wasn't going to, but you mentioned it. So Taylor Swift, but Make It Horror is a series that I do on YouTube where I take Taylor Swift songs and turn them into horror stories, and one of the future ones might be Sean being eaten by a hellhound just because of that one comment. So thank you, Sean.
And if
Always a
you
pleasure to inspire.
And I tell you what, if you watch the podcast on YouTube, it's under the same channel. If you listen on Spotify, you can go on over to YouTube, and the name of the channel is Phantom Ashes.
It
Which I don't
is.
know. I don't know if I've ever told you. What a fantastic name you have for your channel.
Thank you. Because I was very tired of my other one. I was just like, I need it to be something cooler. So I made it
Mhm.
cooler.
I mean, I like it. It's pretty good. And
Now,
you're like the at least the second or third channel that shows up when I type that.
Nice.
would you count this thing as a phantom, or do you think it's an actual physical dog, Andrew?
I mean, I think it's a ghost dog. I mean, it kind of materializes. It's not. I don't think this thing is roaming around the earth in physical form. Um,
So it is. So it is just a hellhound.
Not quite. Hellhounds are a little bit different. It's similar to it. It's very similar to it. I agree, but it's not the same. Hellhounds also fall more into uh, what do you want to call it? Judeo-Christian belief systems normally.
That's fair.
I
Yeah.
think this thing is more spirit that roam. I'm gonna say the spirit roams the earth, but it does exist here.
Yeah.
Also, it's
Although
not on fire. Aren't hellhounds like partially on fire sometimes?
They at least burn the ground they walk on.
Yeah.
although this thing is not completely disassociated with the church. There was an attack in 1127, or sorry, we did that one, but it was the Abbey, and then we also have
There was another one in
um
1577. It really likes attacking churches.
yeah, in Blytheburg, which is 12 miles away from uh Peterborough. There was a dog that ran into the village, chasing and terrorizing the people. Many people dashed into the Holy Trinity Church and barricaded the door, but the dog clawed and it broke its way in, and it managed to kill a man and a boy, and it also destroyed the structure of the church so much that the steeple collapsed, and there were scorch marks on the door that are preserved, and you can still find them today. And there are some people who think that there were like kind of some usages by the Catholic Church during the Reformation period to say that these attacks, which may or may not have actually just been lightning storms that were kind of
Mhm.
damaging churches at the time that were made out of wood, and saying, like, oh, this is basically a warning from God that he is sending these creatures to destroy your efforts to reform from the Catholic Church. And so it's kind of like a
Mm.
bit of fear mongering.
Uh, all I have, I wasn't able to find the full thing, but I did have this verse from a neat Porter, or that was fascinating about those two attacks. Uh, all down the church in midst of fire, the hellish monster flew, and passing onward to the choir, he many people slew. This thing just sounds angry,
It
which
does.
would go in part with God's wrath against you trying to change the church.
Yeah, the account on that from a man named Abraham Fleming was that this black dog or the devil in such a blindness running all along down the body of the church with great swiftness and incredible haste amongst the people in a visible form and shape passed between two persons as they were kneeling upon their knees and occupied in prayer as it seemed, wrung the necks of them both at one instant clean backwards and stomach that even at that moment where they kneeled they strangely died.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that was 1597. And that's one of the earlier, it's not the earliest because we already, like, mentioned the 1127 attack in the Abbey of Peterborough, but this was, 1597.
I couldn't find much on it between the 1500s and the 1900s. Were you able to track it? Uh, I think
Um,
the thing kind of just
not
comes in and out of history.
Yeah, in the Anglican chronicles, in the 11th and 12th centuries, there were several written accounts, like, all across the country that really kinda went into them and their association with the wild hunt that we kind of like touched on earlier, where they would kind of like follow at the heels of these mysterious huntsmen that would ride their giant black horses into the countryside, followed by bands of these jet black dogs with the fiery eyes and dripping fangs. And anything that got into their path would be mauled. But it's a lot of, like, how a lot of origin stories back then are, where it's just word of mouth and, like, people wanting to make their stories seem more amplified than the person before to make it, like, that much scarier, and
Mhm.
there's also, like, a little bit of a potential connection to that because 'cause they're known to ride through the winter, and so, like, maybe people thinking, like, the winter is terrifying because the winter would do the same thing to people back then, like, anybody who got caught in its path would likely be killed. And so, like, the howling of the winds could be, like, the sounds of the huntsman.
What is it with England and freezing people to death?
I mean, it gets pretty cold over there, so
That's true. That's what happens when you don't see the sun for most of the year. It's just covered behind clouds.
yeah.
Indeed. But
Uh,
there is a map that has 400 to 500 documented sightings of these things.
That's impressive. We should post that on our Twitter, where you can find us at underscore night scholars. Do we have the in that, or is it just underscore night scholars?
it is just underscore night scholars. There's no the in it.
Okay. Does our TikTok have the in it? Do you know that?
Yes, I believe it does.
We're just doing all the shameless plugs tonight.
Yeah.
Watch. So I'm gonna go outside later tonight. And start healing and the howling of a black dog, and you're gonna laugh at me. I is
Like I said, I hope it's shitty in the black dog.
I mean, I'm not gonna laugh at the dog personally. That just seems like a bad idea.
I said laugh at me, not laugh at the dog.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Though I'll laugh at you instead of the dog. Like if I'm gonna be laughing, I might as well be at you and not at the dog that might decide to kill me.
And honestly, if Sean doesn't even, start to be its next meal, there's this whole wonderful effect that the black shuck has on people where it makes them feel hopeless and cold and makes the person feel a hollowness in the pit of their gut and a deep feeling of impending doom that does not go away. And all of their
How's
luck
that?
takes a downward turn, and it brings pitiful circumstances to their new companion.
Mm, that
I
kind
don't see
of.
how that's different than any other day of my life. So
I was gonna say that kind of feels like the feeling of pure dread people who've encountered the Wendigo or Skinwalkers feel. Also, black-eyed children. Always that like the feeling of just dread.
we should do an episode on the children someday. But their information is hard to find.
There's
Mm.
a lot of stories, so we'd have to. That one would take some time.
Yeah,
I
just
do
like your
find it
other idea.
interesting that, most of the cases do mention that, like, the dread and impending death, but sometimes it does also mention that they can be a companion. Do either of you have, like, accounts of the companion, or do you just have gloom and doom?
I just have the gloom and doom. I wasn't able to find anything friendly about this. That doesn't
I
mean I'm not going to try.
I saw where it says they can sometimes be guides. I think that's what you're referring to, where they'll guide people to where they're trying to get to. And they're just overall like these
Um,
spectral black friendly dogs.
yeah, and some of them see it as a family guardian that just watches everybody or watches over everybody.
Yeah,
So kind of like the Capre,
Kind of.
except
yeah.
without cigars. Andrew, you should see if you could feed this thing a cigar. See if it'll smoke it.
I don't think you should give dogs cigars, Sean. And I feel like and if
It's
you, I feel like that's just something you shouldn't try to do.
Yeah, but it's a demon dog, so
You know, my sister's pit bull mix, although 1 year did eat fireworks.
sounds enlightening.
Yeah, he was okay. I mean, they took him to the vet and all that, and they just kind of, I don't know what they did to him, but he was fine. He wasn't hurt. Um,
Jonathan, that was awful.
It took you a second.
No, it didn't. I was sipping a drink and letting Andrew talk.
what's awful? Giving the dog a cigar.
No, saying that uh it eating fireworks was enlightening.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, old Scrappy Doo's doing pretty all right though. He's doing real good.
You named
Hmm.
your sister's dog Scrappy Doo.
She named it that. He does. He looks like Scooby, but yeah, he's a good dog.
Is he as good of a boy as an immortal shape-shifting ghost that can appear suddenly out of nowhere and disappear into a wall, tree, or whatever structure is nearby?
I mean, he can't do that trick, but I do often tell him he's the bestest boy. So tell me
That's
about that
fair.
though.
That's really what I have is that they just kind of like seem to be able to appear out of nowhere
Mm.
and are able to kind of disappear into whatever like is nearby-ish, which is why they're kind of seen as a ghost figure as well as
So I would say that would describe the dogs at my old house. I was up north, except they were tiny little chihuahuas, not giant black dogs. So while they could move through the floors and walls, and often did, I wouldn't describe them as demon dogs, except for the fact
maybe
that they
their
were chihuahuas.
descendants.
Maybe
I
one of
mean,
them basically was a goblin.
if I was to describe a dog as a demon dog, it probably would be a Chihuahua. I mean, they're mean little buggers, man.
Yes.
It depends on who raises them.
I mean, so dogs normally pick up on their owner's emotions and they kind of react to those. I think that's part of the reason why Chihuahuas are probably so mean. Their owners are probably very anxious, and that makes them anxious, which makes them aggressive.
Yeah, but then we have our mutual friend Kayla's dog Ryu, who is a mixture of a bunch of them, but maybe the mixture is fine. That is very sweet, and I know she's listening to this, so I have to defend
Yeah, I
Ryu
mean
a little bit.
he's just a little old sausage roll.
Yeah. Oh, deviating slightly, but Sean, you asked if we had any records like between the 11th century and 19th century. And
Hmm.
I do see that there are recordings from the 1830s that say that it can change from a dog to a donkey or even into a goat in the twinkling of an eye.
Wouldn't a goat just be a chupacabra? Uh, I mean, no, I know
Yeah,
it eats goat, but still.
I I think that maybe the goat probably has more to do with that connection to goats and Satan,
Mm,
since
he
it
does like goat
seems like a creature from hell. I mean, they're not really saying that. I've not seen any accounts to say the black shuck is, but or people who are mixing the hellhounds and the black shucks together. Sean, what did you find from the 1900s going forward?
head. Let's see. I have an encounter from 1901, and that says it's basically the same thing. You have huge black dog prowls along dark lanes and lonesome field footpaths where, although his howling makes the healer's blood run cold, his footfalls make no sound. Goes on to say it might bring you the worst of luck possible. I had another one from the 70s about a kid who encountered it. He said that he saw a black animal with yellow eyes galloping towards him at night. Now, his mom dismissed it, saying it was just saying that it was just a car coming towards him. But he was convinced that no, it was the actual black dog, the black shock.
One thing I know, buddy, those damn galloping cars always confusing everybody. I mean, so what I did read, I didn't see any specific sightings of it in recent times, but I did read that a lot of the ones in the more modern day tend to be the more positive ones, like we were talking about a few minutes ago, Ashton, about how they're like guides, protectors, and all that. I didn't see any specific stories on them, but
Well, the world's so screwy. Nowadays, it makes sense that they'd be like, well, there's not much more we can do to make it worse.
yeah,
Mm.
Honestly, though, would you be able to tell if you had the worst luck of your life after the last 4 years?
I'm already there, buddy.
I
Or an
mean,
Ashton's?
I've I've had pretty good luck recently, apart from today. Today was just a fluke, so I think I would notice.
Yeah. Now, in all seriousness, guys, I do kind of have a motto in life, right?
Hmm.
I mean, you hear it at the end of the episode, every episode. The way I live my life is y'all be good to each other, and the other one I have is I'm doing well enough. You know, as long as I wake up every morning, I still got air in my lungs. I'm doing well enough. You know,
There you go.
because as long as I'm alive, they still lose. No,
There you go. That's what I tell
that's
people.
that's right, baby. We're going on caffeine, nicotine, and spite.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that's kind of wise for somebody still in their 20s. Like, good job, Andrew. And then you're like, because they lose.
No, it's the last bit of it's a joke. I like to tell. But yeah, no, really. I mean, we always got something to be thankful for.
Indeed. I very much am a big advocate for practicing your daily gratitude.
Yeah, you should. Uh, and I think I mentioned before.
See,
I used to work in the oil fields, right? And every
You mentioned that
morning,
once or twice.
yeah, every morning on my way driving to the pad I was going to work on, I would psych myself up like, so I'm gonna have a good day. It's gonna be nice weather. And it was gonna pour the rain. I'd be like, at least it'll keep me busy. Day will go by quick. I'm just gonna have a good day, and I did every time.
see, Andrew, I agree with you because as I tell people all the time, I, if I die, that will make somebody happy, and I just can't have that.
Yeah,
But
Ashton.
the other thing, exactly, exactly, it'll make Ashton happy.
Uh,
The other thing is that reminds me of what the the football coach used to say back in high school. Oh, uh, oh, every day of the year, he would always say, "Hey, hey, the sun is shining, the birds are singing. It's a great day for football."
yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that one a few times.
Yeah, I agree, but we should,
Ev-
oh, go ahead.
Just every day. So that's what your motto in the oil fields reminds me of. I'm here. That's good enough.
Yeah, that's what I tell my boss, too. But anyway, we should, probably focus back here on the black shuck.
Uh, there is. I did find one thing. They did say I did find the discovery of a giant dog skeleton in an abbey near Leiston,
Oh, yeah, I
and
saw
in
that.
about
Tons of detail.
in, tw- in 2013. Now they say it was a Great Dane, but I don't know. It could have been a black shuck.
I mean, it could have. They said it was a 7 foot long skeleton of a male dog that weighed approximately 200 pounds. I have
Yeah,
met a
and these
200
things
pound dog in my lifetime.
yeah, and these things are known for being the size of a cow
Yeah,
or a
Yeah.
small cow.
yeah. I met a therapy dog named Cactus Jack once. He is a 200 pound Saint Bernard, and he is about the size of a kind of short cow. Yeah, and he is great.
Sounds scary.
Because
Oh, he's
sound cat.
sweet. He just kind of lays there and lets you pet him. Real nice dog.
Thanks. So, Andrew, do you believe in the black shuck?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I suppose I do. I mean, I believe in at least the black ghost dogs. This one in particular, I mean, I guess I'll kind of lump him in with the rest. Uh, I'd kind of like to think he is just like this, you know, at worst omen of impending death, at best, like cool dog. You know,
Yeah. There's always been something about these types of dogs that have always just kind of intrigued me. I don't know if it's because I read Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban in 3rd grade. I'm assuming that that might have something to do with it, so I'll give it a solid maybe.
good choice.
I'm going to agree with Ashton on this one. Um, I believe it probably existed at one point, but whether it's still around, I don't know. So I'm going to go with a solid maybe.
All right, good answer. Thank you again, our ghosts and goblins, for listening to the Night Skies. You all be good to each other. Don't answer the scratching at your window.
Or do.
But most importantly, stay safe out there.
Good night.